Good morning, Rod.
How's it going?
It's going. Honestly, I'm dragging this morning, but I think you're going to pick me up because I'm going to ask you some good recruiting questions. But before we get to that, let's start with spring practice. I had Scott Moore on earlier, and I said it's kind of been uneventful for the most part, which I think is a good thing as far as spring practice is concerned. When you got a program like this, there have been a few position experiments, but for the most part, it's been kind of quiet, and that's probably the way it should be. It shows you, in my opinion, that Alabama's got another really good football team.
Yeah, I think too. I think with the way things are split up last week, just being the first week, I think you're going to start. It's going to start picking up a little bit more because it's the first scrimmage coming up on April the 2nd with that Saturday. That'll really kind of get everybody excited. I think that's the annual Red Elephant Club deal where they get to go view and all that. So I know that'll get a lot of people excited, and it'll certainly give a little bit of a glimpse to the team. But I think you're right, Gary. I think it's a team that again has a lot of really good looking athletes.
I want to talk to you about some recruiting. I've been looking at this list of prospects in the state of Alabama for 2017. I think it's a really good year, a really strong year for talent. We know last year Alabama only signed 4 players from in the state, although all 4 of them are really highly touted. But this year already 2 in-state commitments. Darius Townsend, the athlete from Tanner, is committed to Alabama, and of course Brian Robinson, the outstanding running back from nearby Hillcrest High School, is recruited as well, are committed as well. So already 2 commitments for 2017. But I want to talk to you about some guys that are national recruits, and I know we've mentioned this guy, and you said that there's a little bit of discussion that you've had with some people that think maybe he's a little overrated, but a lot of people have Markel Benton from Phoenix City Central High School, the linebacker, is the number 1 player in the state. Is that a guy that Alabama is recruiting heavily, and do you think that he'll get an Alabama offer?
Oh, yeah, he's got an offer. And, again, I want to be clear. I'm not saying he's overrated, but there's been some talk that maybe some of the other linebackers in the state might be actually better than him, even though he's rated higher. He's an excellent player, and certainly a guy that Alabama really likes. And, they do a great job of evaluating players. There's no question about that. We know. So, if they want him, he's certainly an outstanding player, and I think he's a guy that, I think it's going to be difficult given where he is. But Alabama's pulled guys out of, two of their top linebackers right now from Auburn High School. So certainly it's not outside the question that Alabama could go down and get him out of where Phoenix City. But, I say another thing too, Gary. I think too what a lot of schools are doing is using Alabama's depth chart against them. They've been doing that. I think it's getting more and more that way. I know that when he visited Alabama recently, he told us that he addressed Coach Saban about the things that he was being told in terms of not playing at Alabama until he was a junior or even a senior. So I think that's one thing Alabama's battling.
Yeah, and they'll continue to battle it, but Saban and company seem to always do a good job of putting those fears to rest once they get to visit with a prospect. Another guy that's highly recruited, and Alabama's made a living off getting a lot of big, talented defensive linemen, and LeBron Ray from up at James Clemens High School in Madison, 6'4", around 275. This looks like the kind of guy that you build a top-notch defensive line with. I know Alabama's after him, but a lot of folks are. What's the latest on LeBron Ray?
Well, I think his stock is even going up. It continues to rise, which is good. He's an outstanding player. There's no doubt. I know he's been coming to Tuscaloosa now for at least a couple of years on visits, and I think Alabama's always kind of been his favorite team. Again, I do think Alabama's in excellent position, but we're 11 months away, 10 months almost. So it's one of those things that's going to be difficult to call, but Alabama certainly is in good position early.
Speaking of Madison, Alabama, Madison Academy is a football power there, and I got to tell you, Rodney, I'm when I get on somebody's bandwagon, I'm gonna lead the trumpet blowing. I think Austin Troxel is as good a looking prospect as an offensive tackle as you can have. He's long armed, 6'7", 6'8", put together well, carries 280 pounds. He looks like a basketball player, athletic, good feet. I know Alabama's all over him, as is Auburn and other schools. One negative, I guess, is that Madison Academy, for whatever reason, has been a school that Auburn has recruited very well. I think Troxel could be a different story, but what are you hearing on him? And how do you like him as much as a player as I do?
I think everybody likes him. All those qualities you mentioned, he's got them all, and there's no doubt that he is very athletic, could play left tackle. He's that athletic, and I think that he's an outstanding prospect, no question, and has been. I know that he grew up a big Alabama fan, or his family is certainly has had allegiances to Alabama, so I think that gives him a great opportunity. And I'll say this, there's been some highly recruited players there at that school, but from what I'm hearing, he'll be the best they've ever had to this point. So that's saying something. So that kind of confirms what you're saying. And, you never really know. A guy looks at a depth chart and, sees something maybe somewhere that he feels like he could fit in better. You just don't know what might happen. But I do think that Alabama was in pretty good position with him.
Talking in-state football recruiting with Rodney Orr from TiderandSutter.com. It looks like a great year for the state of Alabama in 2017. Going to be interesting to see how many in-state prospects Alabama goes after. Big, tall, physical wide receivers always in demand. Clay Chalkville is a program that Alabama signed a receiver from this past season. Now that school has Nico Collins, 6'5", right around 200 pounds. You think he winds up in Tuscaloosa?
Well, he's heavily recruited. I mean, when you talk about a guy that's that athletic and tall and all of the things that he has, he's going to be heavily recruited by a lot of schools, and he is. There's schools everywhere, from Michigan down to Florida State, who really like him. So, there's definitely going to be a lot of competition. Auburn certainly in the mix too, but I think Alabama once again has an opportunity with him. But, partly because they're going to really need some receivers. So I think it's an opportunity for any receiver if you're looking for a place to play. That Alabama's certainly going to have some as we start looking here at their depth chart. Ridley's a guy that'll be a junior after this year. And you never know if he's a three and out guy. And then Robert Foster's about to wind up his career. He'll be a junior this year, or Darius Stewart to be a junior next year. So, there's going to be some opportunities for receivers.
We can't talk about all of the prospects because there's just too many to cover, so I'm going to talk about a couple that I really like and get your thoughts. Alabama, inside linebacking-wise, has had some great ones since Saban's been here. They like those downhill thumpers, but at the same time, guys got to be able to call the defense, got to be able to cover and pass plays. And T.D. Moultrie from over at Jackson Olin in Birmingham, that's not a great school in terms of the record in football every year, but this looks like a great player. 6'2", maybe 230, a big physical kid. I know this is a guy that Alabama's going to go after 100%.
Well, I think that guy there, and it's a great year in state for linebackers. There's another one, Monty Rise, who's up there at LeBron Ray School. James Clemens, who's an outstanding player as well. But I think Moultrie may be the best in the state, depending on who you talk to. There's no doubt he's an outstanding player. I know that Auburn certainly is, recruiting him extremely hard, as are several other schools. Alabama really likes him, obviously. And I think that, they're probably his school of choice in terms of the school he kind of has favored. But again, the process is really just getting rolling, and we'll see. But I think linebacker is another position that Alabama really needs some players. So that's be an opportunity for any linebacker to come in and have that chance to play.
And you mentioned Monty Rise from James Clemens High School. If you look at these recruiting lists, he's not rated as highly as some others, but I think that's going to change because he reminds me a little bit of Gary Johnson, the linebacker Alabama just got a commitment from in junior college. Can run, very athletic. Not a really big kid, but just tremendous athletic ability.
Yeah, I watched his tape. You're right. I think he is a little bit like Johnson that's already committed, the junior college player. He's an excellent player. He came down here recently on a visit with LeBron Ray. I know that he really liked it a lot. And, I just think he's another guy that Alabama will certainly recruit very hard and, see how it all kind of shakes out. There's just so many guys, and there's so many guys on the radar right now, not only in Alabama, but all over the country, the linebackers, defensive linemen, and all of that. And you're really not sure exactly how everything will shake out in terms of which guys Alabama will pursue extremely hard as you move forward. But there are a lot of guys on the radar right now.
There are a lot of guys on the radar. So for Alabama to go ahead and take a commitment at this point in time shows you that they believe a young man's a really good player. 2 players, as I mentioned, already committed to Alabama from in-state. Let's talk about them. Let's begin with a running back from nearby Hillcrest High School, Brian Robinson. I'm looking at a list right now that has him listed as the 16th best player in the state. Well, as I said, it's a really good year in state because if he's the 16th best player, the 15 ahead of him must be really, really good because I think Brian Robinson is a tremendous back. Has size, maybe not a burner in the sense of he's going to light it up in the 40-yard dash, but has great football speed, 6'2", around 215. Has put up some huge numbers at Hillcrest High School, and as I said, already committed to the Crimson Tide.
Well, and I think, too, on his 40 time that a lot of people had, I know he was injured. He may not be that burner. He does have good size. He does have good game speed. I know that I was talking to some of the players at Clay Chalkville that are prospects down the road and talking to them about their game last year against Hillcrest, and one of them just said point blank, may have been Nico Collins when I asked him about Brian Robinson, said he's the best running back in the country. He had 447 yards against them. He's an outstanding prospect. I think he's a guy, Gary, that's going to get better and better and better. I just think he's that kind of player. I think once he gets into college, you're going to see him really develop into an outstanding back.
And the other commitment from an in-state prospect is Darius Townsend from Tanner High School. One of these athletes does a little bit of everything in high school. What do you project him at position-wise here at Alabama?
He's a great athlete. He plays some quarterback. He's very athletic. I mean, he can run, great speed. I think, talking to his coach, was it LaRon White? I think it's Coach LaRon White. I'm not sure if it's LaRon White or Kelvis White. One of the Whites, I'd spoken to him back in the summer, and he had told me that he felt like Darius was one of the best athletes he had ever seen. I remember playing at Alabama. He's seen a lot of really good ones. But he was telling me that Darius had outstanding athletic ability, and not only that, was a great, great kid. And, watching him on tape, you see his speed. Gary, he could play receiver. He could play cornerback. He could possibly play safety. He's just a very athletic kid that's going to bring a lot of versatility. It is
LaRon White, the head coach there at Tanner.
But did he take another job? I think he may have taken another job. He may have.
I'm not sure. All right, one last player I'm going to talk to you about, and that's Britt, the linebacker from over at Oxford High School. Another really good-looking prospect. As you and I like to talk about, Alabama can't take them all. You've got T.D. Moulton, who we've already talked about from Jackson Owen. They play the same position. I know from people that I've talked to over in that neck of the woods that Kenny Britt would love to come to Alabama. Now, a lot of that's contingent on Alabama. He has tried to kind of pitch he and Moultrie as a package deal, saying that they're going to go to the same school. I think that's in an effort to put a little pressure on Alabama. I really do. No doubt he's a good player, but at the same time, do you think he's a priority for Alabama?
Well, I don't know that priorities have really been extremely set in stone, however you want to phrase it. I just think things can really change over, we haven't even gotten to the summer camps, obviously, not even the spring evaluation period will be coming up here before long. And I think a lot of things, when these coaches have opportunities to spend time around prospects, evaluate them by visiting the school, then having those kids come to camp and all of those things, I think that's when really your priority list starts kind of coming together. So I think it's early to say that. And there's kids, to be honest with you, Gary, that you may kind of think are on the priority list right now, that as time goes on, they're not. So these things just really change. I think it's so early in the evaluation process. We'll see. He could be a guy that really emerges. Like I said, this is a good year. You said it. It's a great year for in-state linebackers, and somebody's going to be getting some really good players because not everybody you can't take all of them. I mean, it's just the math of it. You can't take all these guys. And so it's a really great year. Britt is certainly one of those guys.
Well, Coach Saban said last week down in Mobile before a speaking engagement that Alabama's priority is still in-state recruiting first. Only 4 players signed from Alabama last year. Rodney, I'll be surprised if there's only 4 signed this year. I think it'll be more.
Yeah, they'll sign more definitely this year in state. It's a really good year in the state, and I think that they have always tried to sign the best players in the state. It's just the state has not produced really like it. We've known it in the past at times, and therefore the numbers have been down a little bit.
Thanks a lot, Rodney, for the time.
All right, buddy. Take care.